Hello, this is Random History Dude, and back to talk about Europe. Now, what are we going to talk about Europe? Well, we are going to talk about World War I, or the Great War, or whatever war you want to call it. But us in America call it World War I. So that is what I'm going to refer it to for the rest of the video. So any European people who are watching this, just note that I'm going to say World War I instead of the Great War, or whatever war you can talk about. So, what battle? Because there's hundreds of battles in World War I. Well, I'm going to talk about an early battle in the whole scheme of World War I stuff. Because World War I is a long and complicated war. So I'm just going to kind of hopefully break it down so you guys can understand this. And so, I'm going to talk about the Battle of the Marne. So, some of you might know actually what that is, but it's not as popular as Verdun or the Battle of the Somme or the other offensives like the Buslav offensive. I probably butchered that. It's the Russian offensive, the Buzula. I don't know what it's called. Okay, so the Battle of the Marne started on September 5th, 1914, and this started in the whole war begun. I just know the years. 1914 to 1918, so it was a 4-year conflict, really, but it was really complicated and everything. So, right now, let me just brush you up on what's happening. So, let me get in this closer. So, here we have Paris. This dot line here is Paris, so I'm not going to tell you what this is. This is the Marne River, which will be a very conflicty thing right now. So, at the beginning of the war, there was the Slichten Plan, which about here is Amsterdam, so just up here is Amsterdam, Germany, and other place like Switzerland, and down here is like Switzerland, and down all the way down there is Italy. That's what the country's called. So they had a plan. So the Germans had a plan to come around and attack like that. Basically, attack through Amsterdam and come through Paris, come all the way through Paris, so they can destroy Paris and then push all the way to Russia, because Russia is part of this war. Every dang place in Europe is part of this. If I would go north, England's part of this too, which we'll get a part of. So right now, they are the German lines are about like here-ish. That's a close approximation. They probably went down like that, but it's a close approximation. So that's I'm just gonna put G line. So that's the German lines, okay? So, as I said, this dot here is Paris. So, right now, they're just hoping to crash through and take Paris out and then push through, as I just said. So, that's a little brought up to you, so you actually know what's going on. So, that is all great and well and dandy. But, like, this war, as you know, I told you the time periods, lasts longer than a year. And everyone's like, oh, it's gonna be over by Christmas. No war's ever over by Christmas. If there's any war that says it'll be over by Christmas, just know that it's gonna be like 5 years longer. So, the Germans hoped that they could win this war by Christmas. At least this front by Christmas, and then focus all their might on Russia, which might fall soon, but, fall in the next 2 or 3 years. So, prelude, you might know who wins this battle already, and you probably already know who wins this war too, because, World War World War II, sorry, dang, I'm getting out there confused. But, so, the Battle of the Marne. So, okay, the Battle of the Marne. So, the Battle of Marne was a kind of complicated affair. So, since they're, like, really, really close to, I'll just put this down over here. I'll just put that down. Okay, so I just put that away. So, since it was a very complicated affair and everything, they were very close to the capital. So, you could easily supply your men. It's harder if you're far away, stuff. So, And let me just bring you up on the German side of this whole thing. So the Germans have been marching for like 30 days so far. Because they've had, like, a time period of which they need to defeat France and then go and attack Russia. Which, they're not going to complete that deadline, surprise it or not. I know, spoilers already, but I don't care. So, they go, and because France can easily supply, because it's right next to their capital. It's basically a siege. And so, there's two armies. So, England and France are really attacking right now. Now, Russia is happening, other stuff. Russia's absolutely failing on everything, but, I'm not going to get into that, unless you really want me to. So, the French and the British. Now, I'm going to tell you one of the British, because I know that one. I know there's, like, the French 8th Army, but that doesn't, right now, the British Expeditional Force really matters about this point, so I'm not going to get into the 8th Army. So, the Germans' army was split into two. They were split into the Bula, I don't know how to, I don't speak German, so sorry. And then we got the Von Kluck. Yes, that is his name. So, these two German commanders are separated. Well, they're not separated yet. So, these two German commanders control two units, or I don't know what they were, but these German officers had 2 men each, like 2 units of men each per of it. So there's one is fighting past the Marne on the one side of the Marne, and I think it was the Bourgeois. I don't know how to spell your name. It's B-U-L-O-W. Yeah, okay, that's how you spell it. So, I'm just gonna call him B because I don't really know how to spell his name. Was attacking on one side by himself, but against the English, and his other was attacking on the other side of the Marne against the British too. And I think it's the British, but and so then K, I'm gonna call Kluck K, Von Kluck K, because B and K. So, because that's the first level. So they were fighting the French. Now, you don't really need to pay attention to Von Kluck or K right now. You want to focus on B. So B wanted to counterattack with okay, so we have B wanted to a counterattack, which opened up a little bit on the line, and the British Expeditional Force kind of pinched through that gap, and so they started to fight. And at this time, the French had taxis. Now, the taxis basically were just like Model T, cars. So, basically those weren't the most advanced. They were like running at least at like 20 miles per hour. So, not the fastest things, but they were useful. They were pretty darn useful, because you could get probably like 3 or 4, you could probably get 3 or 4 French soldiers in there and just start moving them to the front lines. And since they were so close, you could easily just move them around. Now, once this battle was over, well, okay, sorry, I should get into more depth, shouldn't I? Okay, so, once this battle had really started to go, since the British Expeditional Force started to pinch through, K, or Van Kluck, was trying to, basically, they were trying to communicate. B and K were trying to communicate with each other, but they couldn't, because the British Expeditional Force was in the way, okay? Understand? Hopefully you understand. I know I was stumbling over my words. Okay, I'm sorry. So, yes. So B and K, not B and K, B and K were uncommunicating. They tried to communicate with each other, they just couldn't. They physically could not. Well, some letters got through, but most of them didn't because they were being pinched. So, K and B ordered a retreat. So they retreat all the way to the Assans. I forget what it's called. Dang, now I should have wrote it on my board. But so, they all retreat to the Assan. Okay, it's an A river, I forget, close to Paris. And so the Germans start to dig in because they had spades. For For some reason, the Germans had spades, but the French didn't. Because, I don't know. So, the good things about trench warfare was a few things. Now, when I say trench warfare, you think of muddy, awful mess of just artillery raining down and bullets and everything. And hundreds of men wailing in pain. Yeah, that's what at least I think of trench warfare. But, yeah. So, they started to dig in. And what are really the advantages? Well, one, you can't shoot a man from the ground. Like, you can't shoot a man you can't see. Two, you can't see them from the artillery, so, yeah. And three, protection. As I said, you can't shoot a man from the ground, so you can't really do anything. So, yeah, that really is much of the battle. But there's one last thing. As I said, the trenches. The trenches were a very important thing, as you know, farther in the war, if anyone knows more about that. And so, they did the race to the sea. Now, the race to the sea was basically a race to fortify. Basically, the race to the sea was a race to fortify the lines. Because once the Germans had the idea to fortify and make trenches, the French and British had the idea to fortify and make trenches. And so they were trying to outflank each other every day, every night, every second. So it kept leading on all the way to, like, Amsterdam, or all the way to the sea, as it says, the race to the sea. So yes, that is my summary of the Battle of the Marne and farther back. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe. My links will be down below if you want to see them. One is about YouTube, but yeah, cool. So thank you and goodbye.